actually we want to do a lot of good product, but we don't have enough resource. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough people. So that was one of my biggest struggle. But when I jump onto the business side, start our middle school team and also test prep team, I realized that one way that right now we test to be workable to balance these two things out is the dual teacher model, which is the 双师 model in the US. So actually we are the first business in the US education company to bring in this 双师 model, to a larger population, to maybe 1,000 students. So what we find why it workable is because first of all, the VIP teacher or the teaching assistant can provide the personalized feedback and service to the parents. They really like it because in the US, everyone like the personalized service, the VIP experience. So they kind of help us to lower down the cost of providing this personalized experience to the parents. And on the other side, the content teacher, who will lead the whole class, as just Julian mentioned, that we have to find our best teacher, but they are very expensive, so to speak. So we try to use this dual model of the teaching system to kind of control the cost of the teaching part so that we can still hire one of the best teachers and give them really competitive pay to let them stay in the company and continue to give the best classes experience overall, and then have different VIP teachers to solve the problem of providing the personalized experience. So if I were to because before we did that, we didn't know any other companies were doing that, but right now it's tested to be workable among the current users, especially for middle schoolers. So we're gonna continue to try to see what's gonna be the margin or what's gonna be, how far we can go using this model right now. Yeah.
Yeah, for the Art World Academy, it's also interesting because we somewhat take Amazon's model, right? Everything that is consumer facing, we want to make sure it's perfect, and everything that doesn't touch consumer, particularly in our case it's students, we can try to save and optimize those things. For example, the teachers recruiting process takes 55 days, right? We run them through the assessment test, through the 55 days training. Yes, so and only less than 3% actually teachers get the job to create courses. So, but courses on the on our platform somewhat like a boutique a model where we actually very closely monitor the quality of the courses we participate in the curriculum to systemize those courses to have some sort of a common system between them. And this, of course, reflects on the quality of the product. So it's somewhat a premium product. For premium product, you can expect higher check, so the lifetime and lifetime value of the user is higher, the retention is higher. Also, you start getting things like word of mouth marketing, which is proved to be very effective among the parents communities. And overall, it also helps us to reduce the client acquisition cost, which is incredibly high, especially in China right now, with this extra curriculum loss. So yeah, investing in allocating resources to focus on the quality of the product, but the less management cost, and try to automate, leverage technology. Those kind of things prove to be effective.
Yeah, as an investor, I truly believe in the market, right? So if you have a service or product that's good enough, people want to use the right amount of cash to exchange. That's the right thing to do, because that's how the resource of the society can be optimized. So I really believe the market is there, it's good. So I believe if you provide good enough service, the company in the market economy should be profitable. So that's something, it's a measurement actually. So I think that's good. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, but I do have a question in my mind. I've been thinking all those years. So for two kind of education system. One is represented by the U.S., the Western education system. One is more kind of represented by China. Right? So which kind of system is better, or how can you utilize your expertise or in any education to somehow apply that in U.S., right? Because in China you have we produce a lot of engineers, and the education kind of lift up a lot of people. In U.S. there's a lot of inequality in education, but they have the most Nobel laureates every year. In China, spend so much money, especially for those top universities. Like I'm from Tsinghua, right? The government put so much money into it, and I don't think they have one single Nobel laureate yet. That's amazing. With so much money, because the taxpayer pays so much money to that particular university, right? It's amazing. With U.S., there's a lot of inequality, but at the same time, we do have a lot of Nobel laureates from each university, right? Not one or two, like all those top level universities. So what can you do, like, to bring the success part of the Chinese experience to U.S.? And I hope at the same time, whatever you do here, you get more experience. How can you bring those success or those new concepts back to China to lift up the education level of those countries, right? In China, I hope there'll be more and more people become Nobel laureates, right? They work so hard. The parents, the whole family is supporting one person, one student, and so much money, so much time reading books. No Nobel laureate, right? Here, same thing, right? How do we bring up the education of the poor people? Some people here, yeah. Well, the good thing about U.S. is free, but you're also free to be stupid. That's the thing. Like lots of people, they just have to somehow give them enough information. They could go up as well. So, what can we do? Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah, I'm not expert in that, but specifically in Chinese education, what I can say, like, you know, we were analyzing actually that, right? Like, what is the difference? Like, it seems like it's a somewhat cultural problem. The challenge the authority. I come from the Eastern Europe, and we also kind of like have a lot of respect to people who are older, to our teachers, and in some sense we almost like society doesn't allow us to challenge certain ideas that have been presented by authority. And I think that creates that cap, limit, like that breakthrough that need to get the Nobel Prize, right? It's an innovation, so you have to disrupt like all belief system in order to get on that next level and discover something new. This is the first thing. Second thing is like, of course, the focus on STEM. Seems like it's a good thing. It creates this like methodological kind of like approach for everything, calculative, but sometimes the truly innovative ideas comes from creativity versus the calculation, right? So you have to be creative, you have to explore new areas. That's why Art World Academy is a good place to start to develop your creative side of your brain, and fine arts especially. So yeah, I think there's a cultural challenges in order to make that breakthrough, and I know that a lot of Asian countries, like, they're really good at any mathematical challenges, like competition, when it's about speed, when it's about optimization, and they have a little bit more difficulty to make that jump when it concerns something that needs to be breakthrough, like something like truly innovative.
Thank you. I really love this question because that question was the motivation for me to choose international comparative education as a major at Stanford. And that was the motivation for me to decide to join Think Academy US project back in China. So I would say that that was the question that I've always been searching for the answer for my past 10 years and maybe future 10 years of my life. But at this moment, my answer is only representing myself at this moment, is that first thing I realized there is something underlying the same thing underlying both US education and China education system, is being competitive. The US education actually is not as ideal as I was thinking before I jumped into this business. It was very competitive in terms of there are going to be only 2% of all the high schoolers who can just join the top 30 universities in the US. This is a crazy number. So I mean, they are competitive, but actually competitive in different ways. So I would say that because I was more focusing on the math education for my past 4 years, what I realized is that in China, math education is very focusing on the foundation, the calculation skill, the reading problem skill, the efficient way to solve a problem, in elementary school especially. And compared with the US, what I realized is that in school, elementary school math education, they go kind of abstract a little bit too early, which means that they didn't provide enough efficient way or foundation or calculation skill strong enough for them to be as creative as they can be. However, things gonna have a big switch when they go to high school education. So for high schoolers in the US, the users that we talk with, they are competitive, but not only in academics. They are competitive in sports, in art, in lab research and everything, all around, rather than only focusing on the school GPA. However, back in China, the high school education is that we only care about the final result for the national university exam. So here is where the big difference that I can realize. So I think if I were to do something, or Think Academy were doing something, for example, I think Academy for the test prep department right now, we just opened up this new business division. Actually, this is something not existing in China, seriously, because we're focusing to help the high schoolers to realize what is their potential they can, pursue as they go to high school or even go to college. Not only focusing on the math, but for example, if they can go to a physics track, they can go to a business track, they can go to a pre-med track, some track that they can start with as early as in high school. And then what we provide is not only for how they can score really high in different subjects, but what are some activities, what are some extra curriculum, what are some resources that they can leverage around their families, around the society. So I think this is one thing that we're trying to work out with, but let's see. Because we don't know if that can be really helpful. If it can be, I think that will be some piece of new education model or new education format that we can even bring back to countries in Asia as well.
Awesome, wonderful. We have we're on time, but on time already. So you have a couple more minutes. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I actually have two different answers on the opposite side. I think personally, I think personally I disagree with the question. Because I don't think Nobel Prize matters, and first of all, and secondly, I think I don't want to think about as China versus US, because if you take out all the boundaries, if you take out all the assumptions, we're in an ideal world. For me personally, I think every kid deserves to have an education that's fit for them, right? It's as much a slogan as we can talk about, but that's the ideal state that we're working towards. So personally, I want to be liberated from that question and to say, hey, let's take a big step back and look at a much bigger scale of what we are trying to serve or what we're trying to do here. And on the business aspect of that question, it's very different, because I think one of the reasons why US doesn't have as many large 2C education companies is just because there's so many different school of thoughts here and so many different opinions and the pedagogy beliefs here that are all celebrated and all served and are all accepted, right? So that's why it's hard. For example, there can be a TAL in China. I can't see a TAL in the US. But can we have a product that serves one school of thought, for example, that is try our very best and go to Ivy League school? Yes, they can be a product. Can there be a school who cultivate creativity in sports and use art as not a competition, but use art as a language to interact with the world, use art as a format you get to know more about yourself. Yes, there can be a school like that, right? So that's why I think personally, I want to take a step back about the world and think about what we are striving for. And then on business aspect, I think we need to target our personas and to think about who we're really serving and how can our product has a product market fit.
So this is called think outside the box. I love it. So never limited by anything, including the questions. Yes, you have to think that way. So I have a summary here because I was educated in China. There's a good thing about it because if you study well, you have good score. Teacher always say that. So that makes me study hard. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Right? So I study hard. On the other hand, there's a lot of limitations there, right? Because when I was young, I like to think. Say, hey, there's a slogan called "Long live Chairman Mao and study Lei Feng." So I tell my teachers, no, I think about it. I say, I want to learn from Chairman Mao because I want to become a chairman. I want to live 10,000 years. 万岁, Lei Feng 20 years. Teacher say, how can you think? How come you have such a question? You shouldn't even think about it. So that's the limitation of Chinese education. But on the other hand, it does lift up lots of people because if you don't study well, you're ashamed. That's good or bad, but that's the thing about the Chinese education. For some people, they thrive. Some people, they limit their thinking. And then I come to US, and my daughter went to Princeton, I think. And the school on the building, there's the dead soldier's name during the Civil War on both sides, Confederate and the Union. So they honor students who would sacrifice their life on either side. I was shocked. And now I think it's great because they don't care what you think. As long as you work hard, contribute to community, they honor you. It's so much liberty. So much liberty. It surprised me. Right? Can you imagine this happening in other country? But it does give too much space for certain people. They don't even think. They don't even study. So that's why some people in this country has such a low level of education because nobody really tells them what's wrong. Because if you tell them what's wrong, politically incorrect. So each country or each culture has a strong suit. What I want to say here is today, all of you here, you are experiencing both. So you have the opportunities to bring up the education level. I hope we all involved in education. Secondly, you get both culture, both education systems. So you're supposed to be more successful. You're supposed to go further. So when you go to work, don't stand in the crowd. Stand out. That's called outstanding. Stand out. Work harder. Stand out. If you want to start a company, stand out. Stand up, go out, go to Palo Alto Hill, go to University Avenue, go to Sun Hill, raise money because you are strong. You have a lot of skills. You potentially double your skill. You double the skill, you double the culture of the ordinary guy in the Midwest or somewhere, right? Who has never been able to go to anywhere, right? So you have the skill, you have the culture background, you have the diversity by nature. Start your own company, come to me, or go to a company, stand out, being a CEO. Don't just stay inside the crowd, go outside, stand out, outstanding. That's called outstanding. Stand out for yourself, for our culture, for immigrants. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the valuable discussion. And we will have about 7 minutes. Let's get back at 3:32, and we will come to our last panel. And there are food and fruit outside.